Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sana'i, or welcome back to Sana'i. If it's your first time, I appreciate you tuning in to the episode. For each episode this month, I'm gonna be but discussing and interviewing people and about mental health. And as I was meditating, like I stated in my previous episode, the whole mental health episodes came to mind for March. My whole thing, I was like, it's March about to come up, so March for mental health, it really just came to mind. I was like a hashtag March for mental health. So that's what I'm doing, and that's what I really it's been big to me, and I've been really trying to find the right time to discuss the whole mental health aspects and the different traits, different sides, and different disorders of mental health. And so I've been researching, doing my notes, and it's funny though, because this past weekend, I'm gonna discuss my weekend, and I'm gonna tell you why the whole thing is like funny in a way. But it's funny because how the universe works out. And so, but my weekend, Friday just worked, tried to get everything situated. February blew by, man. I'm still thinking about like how fast February blew by. We're already in March. Next month is my birthday. I'm like, time just keep going. So you got to get with the time, or time will pass you by. Just like that. But Saturday, I went to lunch with some friends. I'm going to call them my soul sisters because they're always speaking from the soul when they speak. But we was at lunch and mental health came up. I didn't bring it up, but they just brought it up, and we just really just started discussing mental health. And I was in awe, because I was just thinking like, man, it's crazy that in March I'm gonna do every episode on my podcast of mental health, but how they just randomly just brought up mental health and everything. So we just had a full-blown discussion at lunch about mental health, and just because we all seen mental health up close. We all discussed it, how we dealt with it, and just going through the phases of it when you're dealing with it or with a person that has it. So I was very appreciative of that combo, as well as I was really enlightened and got informed about the different sides of mental health. But on today's episode, we're still discussing the weekend, man. I'm trying to get ahead of myself, but the weekend was great. Sunday, just work, chill, and just really getting prepared for this episode and discussing this episode, and really just taking notes and researching for this episode, because I want to educate you guys on mental health as much as possible. So this episode is really basically like an introduction to mental health. But I appreciate y'all tuning in, listening, and just really rocking with me, and appreciate the feedback, the reviews, the people that subscribe, the people that listen. And just all I want y'all to do, if y'all can do for me, is just share the show with a friend, especially that every episode this month is dealing with mental health, and I believe everybody needs to be educated in mental health, because mental health is it's mental health. It's for your mental. But I'm going to start with the quotes of the day. The first one is, never be bullied into silence. Never allow yourself to be made a victim. Accept no one's definition of your life. Define yourself. Never be bullied into silence. That quick sentence right there, never be bullied into silence. For me, always speak up for what you believe in and for what you feel. Never let outside pressure or critics or people make you shut up in a way, or silence you. And then never allow yourself to be a victim. Never allow that to happen. Always be the opposite. You don't want to be a victim to somebody else's negligence, or somebody's version of you or perception of you. Never allow yourself to be the victim, and don't accept no one's definition of your life. Define yourself. We all in life, we got to create ourselves, recreate ourselves, and define ourselves in this world, in society. It's all about following your own path, but also using tips from other people's paths that they've done. So don't let nobody, like I said, hold that perception of you, of who you are. Oh, you're this person, you're this type of person. No, don't let them define you or have that perception of you in their head. Always be evolving, always be willing to define yourself. You know who you are inside and out, versus somebody just getting the brief moments of your life or brief glimpses of your life. So don't let nobody define you. Don't let nobody criticize you. Don't let nobody make you a victim, or don't let nobody bully you into silence or bully you at all. Like, always have that confidence and that courage in yourself. Love yourself. Take care of yourself. Do the self-care, the self-knowledge. Do stuff that makes you happy and makes you happy on the inside and just makes you happy overall, because that's what it's about. Just being happy and doing the things that you know will, like I said, bring happiness to your life, bring joy to your life. Always be that positive energy that you want to be. So I know I went off topic, but quote again is, never be bullied into silence. Never allow yourself to be made a victim. Accept no one's definition of your life. Define yourself. That was, man. And I felt like, when I found that quote, I felt like, yeah, this is it, simply because we're talking about mental health, and that all goes back, that all relates to your mental. The second quote is, one of the amazing things about this chess game called life is that we get to choose if we want to be the chess master or the pawn. So when it comes to life, you can be the creator of your life, or you can have life be created for you. It's like, you could be the boss or you could be a worker. What do you want to be? And especially when it comes to life, we have options. We always have options. We always have choices. Always choose what's best for you in the long run. Be the chess master. Don't be the pawn. Don't be another cog in somebody's system or somebody's project. Be the leader of the project, or be your own leader. Be the chess master of your own life. Don't be a pawn. But 2 quotes, then we're going to get into the mental health and introducing the different sides, different phases, and just what I've learned so far about mental health. Like I said, this is just an introductory episode on it. So I'm going to give y'all a brief break, and then we're going to get right at it. What is mental health? It's our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. There's multiple definitions for mental health. Everybody has their own definition. But I feel like that one was just like short and to the point. It's our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, how we feel, how we act, and also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. So everything starts with your mental, as we all know. And it's best to take care of your mental health, especially through some of the grueling days where you're working all day or you're just socializing all day, and we all need that time to decompress and de-stress and just really take that load off, or that will really drive you crazy. Me, a few years ago back, I used to do security in a hospital, and I was always in the emergency room, the ER, constantly seeing life and death, life and death, life and death, life and death. And seeing that all day does something to your mental, especially if you don't, like I said, have that time to de-stress when you get off work and whatnot. And because it's like, when I got off, I had to put all that behind me. What I seen that day, had to flip a switch and erase it all and be prepared for the next day, the next shift to come in. Because like I said, working in the hospital, working in the ER, you see everything. Like I said, life and death. So if you don't take care of your mental, what I did during that time, that whole time, I was really heavy with the meditating, and really just trying to keep the joy out in my life, keep the joy around. I always spend time with my godson and my nephews, simply because that brings that joy that in my life. But we, as I go on, we all have the potential to develop mental health problems. Almost 1 in 5 Americans experience mental health problems each year. That's about 18.5%. In 2015, an estimated 9.8 million adults had a serious mental disorder. There are many factors that contribute to the mental health problems. Biological factors such as genes or brain chemistry, as well as life experiences such as trauma or abuse, family history of mental health problems. And so those many factors, like you said, genes or your brain chemistry, different experiences, life. If you've been through an abusive relationship, abusive childhood, that will affect your mental health, as well as any type of trauma. When I first think of trauma, honestly, I think of PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, and just relating to the soldiers, how what they go through, what they see over in war, and that trauma really stays with them. I want to say not stays with some of them, but regardless, it stays with them, and they really they have the PTSD. You see, I'm pretty sure you've seen different episodes or different documentaries or different things where you dealing with PTSD, and then as well as family history of mental health problems. I think I'm trying to relate and see if my family personally has mental health problems. Not that I know of, but I have to double check. But the family history of mental health problems, I would, if as you're listening to this, I would just go back, just see like I said, the biological factors such as genes and brain chemistry, life experiences such as trauma and abuse. If you had any traumatic childhood or abusive childhood, or just a traumatic relationship or an abusive relationship, and you probably have scars, emotional scars, maybe even physical scars from those traumas from the relationships, and you just really recurring, that affects your mental health as well as family history of mental health problems. If I would check with any of my family members, if y'all, and just to get educated and see, did my great-great-grandpa have mental health problems? Did my grandma have mental health problems, or anything of that nature? So you can keep, so you know how to act upon it before it gets, I want to say, too severe. If you have that within your family genes. But some of the early warning signs of mental health would be eating or sleeping too much or too little, pulling away from people and usual activities, having low or no energy, feeling numb and like nothing else matters, having unexplained aches and pains, excuse me, smoking and drinking or using drugs more than usual, feeling unusually confused, forgetful, on edge, angry, upset, worried, or scared, yelling or fighting with family and friends, experiencing severe mood swings that cause problems in relationships, having persistent thoughts and memories you can't get out of your head. Man, as I'm going through this, I'm just really trying to think about myself personally. I'm like, do I got any mental health problems? But like I said, as I'm reading them down, I'm just really trying to think nah. But experiencing severe mood swings that cause problems in relationships, having persistent thoughts and memories you can't get out of your head, hearing voices or believing that things aren't true, thinking of harming yourself or others, the inability to perform daily tasks like taking care of your kids or getting ready for work or school. So I'm just me personally, I'm going back to the first one, eating or sleeping too much or too little. I'm I kind of do both of those, but I'm trying to figure out how I can eat more and sleep more. But I'm just going through the early warning signs. But yeah, pulling away from people and usual activities. If you feel like you're eating too less or too much, or sleeping too much, too less, too little, I would check into that and see how can you find that balance. If you feel like you're pulling away from people and usual activities, you feel like you want to be isolated in solitude, figure out why. Why are you pulling away from people and usual activities? Having low or no energy, that's another thing. Figure out why your energy low, or you have no energy at all. Maybe it's what you're putting into your body. Maybe it's what you're eating. I have an episode discussing the whole digestion process and how that goes about, but it's all about what you're putting into your body too. That affects your mental, the mind and gut connection. I'm gonna discuss that on one of these episodes as well. But feeling numb or nothing matters. If you feel that way, life is just, when I read that, feeling numb or nothing matters, you know how you be sitting at home, it's, let's say 10 or 11 o'clock, and the commercials come on, with the little music, the medication commercials. That's when I feel like That's what that relates to. That's when it feels like nothing else matters. Everything feels numb. You know, they have that sad music playing. They have you tried this so-and-so drug? And then you see the ladies or the man in freaking depressive state. But that's where I really got that from. But if you feel like numb or like nothing else matters, reach out to me, as well as I got people that I can connect you with that can really help you, uplift you, and really just talk to you and be there for you. Having unexplained aches or pains, like random pains, don't be like, oh, I'm sore from the gym or nothing. Like, no, like them random pains that you know that you're not supposed to having, or them aches. Check into that, see what that is. We got the internet. Google will help you figure out what that unexplained ache or pain is, and then you can go about the right way to cure that or help it out. Smoking or drinking or using drugs more than usual. That goes to trying to numb the pain of what you're feeling or what you're going through. Using the drugs, you know how people use drugs to numb the pain or numb the trauma that they're going through. It's like sometimes you have to embrace the trauma, embrace the pain, and decipher how to get past that stage where you don't have to use drugs or smoking or drinking or anything of that nature to calm you or find that peace or ease you away from that pain, to subdue the pain. Feeling unusually confused, forgetful, on edge, angry, upset, worried, or scared. I'm trying to figure out how to. Big man. I'm about to come back to that. I might not, but it's self-explanatory in itself. Yelling or fighting with family or friends. Yeah, that's all the way out. So if you have an early warning sign of that, flip that. If you always feel like you're yelling or fighting with family members or friends, see how you can approach the situation in a different way. Experiencing severe mood swings that cause problems in relationships. If you're experiencing severe mood swings, do something that whatever brings you peace and you find peace in, do that more, so you don't have to have constant mood swings. As well as, like I said, it goes back to what you're putting in your body, what you're feeding yourself on a daily basis, what you're eating, what you're reading, what you're seeing, and all that goes back to it. It all affects your mental health, even if you don't know it. And another thing, a book that I recommend is The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. That really helps with mental health, as well as getting that together and thinking. I'm going to give y'all a brief break, and I'm going to get right back to it. Having persistent thoughts and memories you can't get out of your head. That's a tough one. And like I said, if you're having that, or you're dealing with that, the constant memories, the bad memories, the bad time, the traumatic times, reach out to me and I'll connect you with the right people so they can assist you and help you and guide you along the way to get you out of them traumatic phases, the traumatic mind states, the mental harmful mind states. Thinking of harming yourself or others. Please do not do that. For real. Harming yourself or harming others is really not the way to go. And if you feel like that way, I have this number for you. 1-800-273-8255. Once again, that's 1-800-273-8255. And that's the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Call that if you ever feel like you're on the edge, or you feel like you're just having a rough day, a rough time, where you just feel like you can't take anything anymore. Call them, or like I said, reach out to me too. I'll be always willing to help, always willing to reach out, to speak to you, and help you any way I can. So the last one, inability to perform daily tasks like taking care of your kids or getting ready for school or work. It happens where you feel just like super overwhelmed with everything that you don't feel like doing shit. I understand. It's life. But don't let life defeat you. Like the quote says, you can be the pawn or the chess master. Be the chess master, not the pawn. The most common types of mental illness will be anxiety, mood disorders, and schizophrenia. Most people with an anxiety disorder will try to avoid exposure to whatever triggers their anxiety. The different types are panic disorder, phobias, obsessive compulsive disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder. So we have OCD and PTSD. The panic disorder is the person experiences sudden paralyzing terror or a sense of intimate disaster. I don't know if you guys ever been to somebody who's just had a panic attack, where like everything, life just hits them real fast. It seems like a speeding train is coming towards them, and they don't know how to move away from it. It's like they're stuck to the ground, like they're cemented to the floor, and they're just having that panic attack. So when that happens, me personally, I haven't been through it, but I wouldn't say deep breathing and keeping calm and relaxed. If you feel like somebody's going through that, deep breathe with them. Do the deep breaths, deep breathing with them, and just get them calm, get them to a calm state, get them to that happy state, get them to a state of peace, instead of always having a panic attack or panic disorder. A phobia, an extreme or irrational fear of something. Not everybody, but most of the phobias you already know. Arachnophobia, afraid of spiders. That's the most common one that comes to my head. Obsessive compulsive disorder, aka OCD, is defined as a disorder characterized by the pressure of persistent and recurrent irrational thoughts, obsessions, resulting in marked anxiety and repetitive excessive behaviors, which is compulsions, as a way to truly decrease that anxiety. So, honestly, when I first thought of OCD, I thought it was like, I knew it was obsessive compulsive disorder, but I just really thought it had to deal with somebody that was like, I want to say, as well as, because the repetitive behaviors, as well as always trying to keeping stuff clean, doing all that cleanly stuff, always keeping everything clean and nice and neat around them. That's one of the parts of OCD, where people have an obsession. They basically have an obsession with just keeping everything clean around them and organized. That's a part of it. Post-traumatic stress disorder, aka PTSD, a condition of persistent mental and emotional stress occurring as a result of injury or severe psychological shock, typically involving disturbance of sleep and constant vivid recall of the experience. So I will have a guest come on and talk about the PTSD, because I feel like she's dealt with it, and I would say personally, she's educated with that. So I'm gonna let her discuss that more. But like I said, PTSD personally, my bad, got cut off. But PTSD, like I said, whenever I think of PTSD, that just always brings me back to the U.S. soldiers and what they go through overseas or during the war, and what they how that traumatic stress really just takes a toll on them. But it also relates to, some people have PTSD being in having a traumatic childhood, as well as being in traumatic relationships, abusive relationships, or anything of that nature, or even just being in like some crazy type of life-altering accident. So PTSD goes long ways. But like I said, I'll have a guest on a show discussing more about that. Mood disorders. These are also known as affective or depressive disorders. Major depression. Definition: the person is no longer interested in and doesn't enjoy activities and events that they previously liked. There are extreme or prolonged periods of sadness. Have I seen major depression? Me personally, I haven't seen major depression up close, but I know it can hit you hard to where you feel like you don't want to deal with life or deal with anybody, or just anything at all. So you just want to just be there, be like existing. But if you have somebody that's dealing with major depression, be there for them. Always check in with them, and always just encourage them. Bring them happiness, bring them joy, bring them laughter. Find out what makes them happy. Find out how you can slowly but surely get them out of that depressive state. Another disorder would be bipolar disorder, and this is previously known as manic depressive illness or manic depression. The individual switches from episodes of euphoria, which is happiness, to depression. Depression is sadness. Persistent depressive disorder, aka dysthymia, I almost messed it up, is mild chronic depression. The individual has similar symptoms to major depression, but to a lesser degree. And this one is a new one to me that I didn't even know about, which is seasonal affective disorder. They abbreviated it as SAD. And I was like, what? Why you do that though? Nah, but they abbreviated it as SAD, which is my bad. They abbreviated it as SAD, which is a type of major depression that is triggered by the lack of daylight. It is common in most countries far from the equator during late autumn, winter, and early spring. So seasonal affective disorder, like a type of major depression that is triggered by lack of daylight, that lack of sunlight. And I never knew that existed until I did my research on it, and that really just opened my eyes. I'm like, man, there's really people that have these illnesses. I want to say, I kind of don't want to say illnesses, but that's what they're really basically describing it as. And man, I didn't even know that existed. Like I said, it's a major depression that is triggered by the lack of daylight, and it's most common. I'm pretty sure we know about it in the U.S., but we rarely use it in the U.S. because, like I said, it's most common in countries that are far from the equator. So I'm trying to think of the countries that's far from the equator. But that's another one. The other disorder is schizophrenia disorder. We all have heard of the schizophrenia. It's not a single disorder or a group of related illnesses that has yet to be determined. It begins between the ages of 15 and 25. The individual has thoughts that appear fragmented. They also find it hard to process information. Schizophrenia, they have positive and negative symptoms. Positive symptoms include delusions, thought disorders, and hallucinations. Negative symptoms include withdrawal, lack of motivation, and a flat or inappropriate mood. Man. Oh, man. But like I said, this is just an introductory podcast to the whole mental health aspect and the mental health, March for Mental Health. That's what we're doing in March. And basically every episode I'm dealing with and I'm doing and discussing will be dealing with mental health. And I'm just giving you the introductions of the mental health. I gave you the early signs of it, the different most common types of mental health, and the different types. The most common types, which is anxiety, mood disorders, and schizophrenia, and the different types of anxiety, which is panic disorder, phobias, OCD, PTSD. Then I gave you the early warning signs. And if you feel like you have you've seen these early warning signs from somebody else or within yourself, check on them. Check on yourself immediately instead of just letting it go by. Because the more you let it go by, the more it builds up. You know what happens when stuff builds up. So if you see anybody with any early warning signs of mental health problems or illnesses, help them out in the system. We all can help each other out, love one another, and just appreciate the self-care. Self-care is healthcare in my opinion. But I appreciate y'all tuning in. Like I said on the show, we discussed the 2 quotes. Never be bullied into silence. Never allow yourself to be made a victim. Accept no one's definition of your life. Define yourself. Second quote is, one of the amazing things about this chess game called life is that we get to choose if we want to be the chess master or the pawn. I discussed what mental health is. It's our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. Man, talked about the early warning signs. But on my next episode, I'm going to have a special guest, and she's going to come in and just talk about mental health. It's a field that she's also passionate in. And I hope y'all tuning in. Appreciate y'all tuning into this show. Share with a friend. Like the show. Subscribe it. Leave me a review. I want to know if you had to deal with any mental health issues yourself or within a family member or just anything of that nature. Reach out to me. I really want to know, and I want to see how y'all went about it. Reach out to me at Sanai podcast on any social media platform, as well as if you want to email me at sanaipodcast@gmail.com. And I'll be happy to hear the feedback, hear the reviews, and just hear everything that if you have to deal with the mental health, or you know somebody that's dealing with mental health, you can reach out to me too, and we can connect them with the right people. But appreciate y'all tuning in. I'll be back with y'all again on Friday, man. Friday's episode is going to be powerful, and I feel like it'll gravitate y'all into really the whole mental health aspect. But it's Monday, man. Keep the grind up. Keep working. Keep grinding. Never stop what you're doing. Love yourself. Love one another. And appreciate what you have and be grateful for what you have. And check on people. Don't hold no grudges or resentment towards another person. Love one another. We out.